Welcome everyone to another day of the StarCastTV Star League. This time around, it's everybody's favorite matchup, Terran versus Terran. It's Light versus Sharp, and helping me today once again is SaiyanSC. What's going on, dude?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for having me back. Looking forward to this TVT. It's gonna be interesting. Sharp, such a character. Let's get into the bracket here.
Yeah, let's take a look at the bracket. Of course, we know in the top side, we've got two Terrans, Barracks and Royal, and thankfully Mini saved us from an all-Terran round of 4 and beyond. He managed to get through SOC 3-1, and today we're going to at least get us a Terran, or we're going to have a Terran versus Terran here and at least get a Terran versus Preuss in the round of 4. The question is who's going to be the victor here? Is it going to be Light versus or Sharp? I actually really like Sharp's Terran versus Terran, even though I think Light is just the overall better player. Sharp's really freaking good TBT, so I think there is a chance that he could win. I would still favor Light just slightly, and I think it's going to be coming down to map picks. If we take a look at our picks, we've got Deja Vu, Radon, Pantheon Kickback, and Minstrel. I'm not really too shocked at these picks. I think Deja Vu is a great map. Radon, Pantheon also very good. And then, you know, maybe Dominator's a slightly interesting ban, leaving in Minstrel, which can be a bit of a crazy map sometimes. But with that said, let's get into our first game. It's going to be on Deja Vu.
I'd love to see a Minstrel final match. That would be so cool. Such a good map. I was just talking to you before the games were started, before we started the cast, about how cool of a map that is and how interesting it is for TVT. But here we go, game number 1.
Yeah, maps like Minstrel where you can split, but there's a base in the middle, can make the middle base very, very important if we went into an epic, 1 hour long game. But we'll see if we actually get there, since that's game 5. We've got Light in the top right and Sharp in the top left. Now, Deja Vu, I've talked about how this map is really good for players that can play defensively. We saw Sock almost get a comeback win versus Mini, where he just camped the center of the map the entire game. But when it's Terran versus Terran, you don't really want to be the defensive guy. You want to be the guy that's sitting on top of the ramp and then just, making sure that they can never get out. So if someone can secure high ground outside of the natural, oh, they're going to be in a massive advantage. And I know Light really likes to go for heavy vulture play. If he can get like an early vulture lead, I can see him turning that into some type of massive camp outside of the natural, and just Sharp trying to, trying to break out, and, that's almost impossible in Terran versus Terran.
Yeah, that high ground right outside of the natural is so deadly. Both players are going to want to get a bit aggressive in the early game and at least try to put their foot out on the map early to prevent their opponent from getting that containment over them. And this Sharp going to be throwing a Barracks out in the middle of the map. That's just for the scouting, right? Now, I'm going to be deferring to you a lot in this cast because it is TVT and I'm a Zerg player.
And most of the time it's just for the scouting. Back in the past, you almost never built your Barracks in your main. You always procced it at some sort, and you would just immediately lift and scout instantly. But with players being a lot better these days, you see more players going for like 2 or 3 Marines, doing a lot of pressure. Also, gasless is a very viable build in Terran versus Terran. So this could also be like, oh, if you went 14cc or gasless and you skipped a Marine, well, all of a sudden your build's down the drain. So Sharp could also be going for something like that. We do have both players, though, going for 12 gas. Light's factory is going to be slightly faster just because he's going to have more money since he didn't proxy, and he got his refinery, just that little bit faster. But you do have the 14 or 15 scout from Light. This is very normal in Terran versus Terran. There's like no benefit to scouting very quickly in TVT because Marines are just not very good at pressuring SCVs. So nothing unusual going on so far.
Tiny little advantage, like you said, for Light's factory timing, and seconds do matter, especially in a matchup like this. But I don't think it's going to matter too much here. Both of the builds going to line up pretty closely, and I think the scouts are going to come in at about the same time. The scouting Barracks are going to come in at the same time. Wait, this Barracks already floating towards his opponent?
Yeah, Barracks already going to top left. He's going to find him first. And
so he didn't make a Marine at all?
Oh, no, he did. He made one. Actually, one is kind of greedy these days. A lot of players go for two, which is what you see from Sharp. The reason for that is, one, if somebody goes greedy like this, you can punish them for building one Marine. And two, the Marines actually have pretty good DPS versus the floating racks. And we do have a bit of a, well, it's kind of greedy on both sides. It's one Marine for light, which is unusual. Then we've got an instant add-on, despite not scouting, an instant add-on for Sharp. So both players are playing greedily in different ways. If Light sends this single vulture instantly across the map, it could do a lot of damage.
Yeah, the Marine has pretty good DPS against the Vulture as well, but they just get two shots so quickly by those Vultures. And so if this Vulture comes in and kills both of the Marines, that could be really bad for Sharp. He started his CC right after making that add-on, and here comes that Vulture. Two shots of Marine immediately. Will he miss any shots going uphill? He does, and the Vulture dies. There it is. The Marines actually win that fight, kind of hilariously.
And that one Marine that's left over will push the Rax back. Of course, the Rax has 1,000 life, so it's going to be a while for that Marine to actually do damage to it. Now, critically for Light, he forced the SCV off of the natural, building that command center. He was down like half an SCV. Now he's going to be up probably like maybe 2 workers, something like that, because of how much of an advantage his command center timing is. And there we go. This is the 3-fact follow-up. I was talking about how Light really does a lot of heavy vulture pressure play, and his factory sees that this guy's only got 2 factories. He may be thinking that this is going to be tank Goliath or something like that, but there we go. 3rd factory coming down. Sharp's going to just match the factory timing. And man, that command center still not done.
That's crazy. He put that command center down right after the factory add-on came up, but the one Vulture coming across, the power of getting that Vulture out before the add-on means that he was able to delay that CC by quite a bit. We're going to see this barracks get pushed back. Tank's already up on high ground. Light in a kind of offensive posture. I didn't expect him to have a tank this early. I thought he was just going to macro out a ton of Vultures.
I also was not expecting to see the tank. He may be trying to get like a 2nd or 3rd tank and then just go. I like what Sharp has done with his spider mines. It's kind of in an unusual spot. A lot of times when Terran players rush mines like this, especially when they know it's Vulture versus Vulture, they put it a little farther out on the map to see where their Vultures are. But this is going to catch the tank off guard, I imagine. However, Light has gone for straight speed. He's going to have more Vultures than Sharp here. 6 versus 6, but he's got high ground. And that's a massive advantage for him.
I don't see the tank moving just yet, but we might see a big connection if Light's not paying full attention, or if the Vultures come in and start to fight as the tank approaches. Setting up here for the push-in. Usually you'd want to bring the tank with this because that's quite a bit of an investment, and you don't want to leave that out of the fight if you're actually going to take a battle here versus Sharp. Staying on the high ground for now, though. Light doesn't want to get too aggressive just yet. He wants to sit here on this high ground and see if Sharp will try and take a fight into him.
I'm really curious what Light is waiting for. Like, yes, he knows there are mines. I guess he never spotted where the mines were, and he's like, well, I don't want to lose my tank. But at the same time, he's not sending his Marine out to even check for spider mines. So I'm not sure exactly what he's waiting for, or like, how does he get this tank over here? Because what's the point of having the tank if you're not going to use it? Okay, he gets rid of the Marine, which means that there's no answer to the Rax giving vision anymore. We do have a starport, though, for Sharp, so he's going to go into Wraith. And I was looking at the natural, I was like, wow, is Light all in? I don't see him mining gas, but no, he's got a lot of workers. Same with Sharp. They're just really prioritizing just mass Vulture.
Well, maybe if Light can sit here and build up this Vulture count and Sharp's not able to challenge him on the high ground, eventually there's going to be a scanner. He can get rid of all of these mines and he can bring the tanks forward and take that high ground we were talking about earlier. This position where Light is sitting, if there are tanks up here with siege mode, it's such a difficult spot for Sharp. Maybe that's what Light is setting himself up for, and just daring Sharp to break in before that happens.
Well, there's the 2nd tank. Critical mass is 3 tanks. If you're not going to have +2 weapon, you've got to have 3 tanks to just one-shot the tanks, the opposing tanks in siege mode. And there's two of them, and this is what I was talking about before the game even started. If Light gets into a position like this, also I realize Sharp is pairing himself. If he had gotten into a position like this, it's so hard to break out of this contain. This one single Wraith is going to probably kill at least one of the tanks. Light needs to send over an SCV to repair. I don't even think he has an armory, so I don't think there's Goliath on the way, and he only has one Marine, so this Wraith is going to be a nuisance.
Yeah, nothing you can really do about that, but I believe you can build turrets up here. And you will start to do that soon. The tanks are not able to fire from this position where Sharp is pushing up. He's going to bring another tank up to the front, though. Now it's in range, and this is such a good fight for Light. I mean, he's not really making any crazy moves, but he's got Sharp in such a predicament now. This is going to be really hard for him to find a way out of.
Yeah, one of the most punishing things about Deja Vu is like, oh, well, he can just go around. Okay, go around. And then he's on top, or then Light can just move over here like this, and he's on another ramp. So both sides. He just GG's because he knows he can't get out. That's just how strong that position is on Deja Vu. I really wish Sharp had built like a tank himself or something. Like, he literally built he built Vultures for 8.5 minutes, and he built 2 Wraiths, and the guy didn't even have a Goliath to defend the Wraith, and he still couldn't get out.
That was a little bit sad. I mean, nothing fancy out of Light there at all. He just moved forward. You were wondering, is he going to attack? Is this some sort of all-in? But Light's just sitting there on the ramp. He says, you know what? As long as I hold this spot, eventually I'm going to get tanks over here, and Sharp, you have to fight up high ground against me to break this before I get tanks in this position. It's not going to be a good fight for you. And Sharp, I can't believe he tapped out so quick, but I can't deny that was an amazing position for Light.
Yeah, I've heard sitting in an arc is pretty good, especially when you're sitting in an arc on high ground. So easy win for Light. He literally didn't even do anything except build Vultures, and he's going to be up 1-0. Now we're going to be going into Radon. We actually had an epic game between Sock and Sharp on Radon earlier in the season. It was pretty epic. BC split map. I think there's definitely a likelihood here that we could go split map here because Radon just kind of sets you up for that. We've got Sharp in the top right, and we do have Light in the bottom right.
So how do you feel about this map in TVT Nyoken? Are you a fan of it?
I almost always play Terran versus Terran to go for split map, because I think Tank BC is just the ultimate comp, and I feel like late game I'm pretty good at it. So I really like Radon because I think it's an easy map to split. However, if you somehow don't control like your third base area, you can easily have your gas denied. And if you're not able to get that gas and not able to deny the opponent's gas, then they're going to have either up one entire base, or they're going to at least have, or they're going to at least be up one gas the entire game. So when I see spawns like this, I'm thinking, can someone actually secure like the mid right here and prevent that gas from going up? That's mostly what I'm going to be looking at, because as the game goes longer and longer, that gas is going to be becoming more and more important.
Absolutely. We'll see if either Light or Sharp wants to prioritize taking over that area of the map. If you take over that area as well, it gives you a great path to drop into the main base. So
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you always have to be on the defense there, because one, they could just bust the third base, and then also they could drop the main, like you're talking about. And obviously the attacking player is going to know that. So I wonder if they'll exploit that, not actually put a lot of army over there, and then like let's we do go split map and then do like a massive doom drop top left. I feel like the defending player is going to have a rough time, defending his third base while also trying to defend split map drops. Now we have an interesting scout. Is this a double scout? No. Okay, that's command center going down.
Ooh, Sharp going for command center first. He's not happy about how that last game went. Wants to get a nice advantage to start this second game off with. Will there be any punish from Light? He's scouted in the wrong direction, so I think we're likely just going to see a gasless out of him. And yeah, there's the CC coming down. He's not going to know about this. And he's just going to be slightly behind. It's not like he went for the fastest possible factory and didn't get any damage done while Sharp sitting here in a CC first. He's gone for a pretty fast CC himself.
A CC is what, like 10, 15 seconds slower? That's one SCV, so it's like not really the biggest of advantage for Sharp. But obviously, if you're Terran and you get away with a 14 CC, oh, you're feeling fantastic. Sharp's not going to be happy to see that it's versus a gasless here. He really wanted it to be versus 12 gas, so he could just have a ton of SCVs. But of course, he'll take the slight advantage here. Now, the question to me is, how is Light going to punish this? He still hasn't scouted. Remember last game, he built 1 Marine and then floated. This time, he's going to build 2 Marines. He really doesn't want the 2 Marines because this does nothing for him. I hope he cancels it. Nope, but I can see the Marine pops out. He's building a 3rd despite sitting Command Center first.
This is a little bit funny. Let's see what he ends up doing with those 3 Marines, but I doubt there's going to be much opportunity to try and punish Sharp here. Sharp's just going to have that little bit of a lead, and sometimes you have to roll with the punches. Just take the L and try to catch up. It seems like Light's just going to keep building Marines, though, and he's going to look for some punishment damage. He's going to look to maybe bunker. What are we going to see out of him here?
I literally don't know what the heck I'm watching here. Light built a 4th Marine, and he's sending it. Sharp, he's going to have 3 Marines when the guy shows up with the 3 Marines, so it's going to be even Marine count. However, there's an SCV in the front, and SCVs, they can take a lot of hits. Yeah, he backs off immediately. I still think that this shouldn't really do very much. I guess I think he's really hoping that he can force a bunker out. But like I said, it's not 12 gas, so there's no reason to build a bunker here. Your factory timing's going to be identical to Light. The question is, you know, how many Marines do you have to build? Oh, we got the first shot off. Oh, wait, what?
Oh, a little bit of splitting on the shots from Sharp there, and getting more damage with his SCVs as well. There's still 1 Marine here. I guess he's going to drive 1 or 2 SCVs off, but here comes the Vulture. And so this will be shut down. Not really anything gained by Light trying this move, but I guess, you know, trades out the Marines, doesn't get any kills there, forces a little bit of lost mining time. It's kind of a mixed bag, I suppose.
He does force, what, 2 SCVs from the natural to the main, so those weren't mining for a few seconds. Also, there's a chance that Sharp, you know, overreacts, messes up his build, so I think the play from Light was pretty good. I think something that a lot of players don't realize is that you can easily oversaturate your natural and undersaturate your main. Now, I'm not saying that that's what Sharp has done here, because I actually think he has balanced it very well, but if it was a lower level player, you know, forcing 2 SCVs off the mineral line could oversaturate a base, and that would be really, really bad. Now, we've got an interesting follow-up. It's 3-fact for both sides, but Sharp has built an additional factory, so he's going into 4-fact. Meanwhile, Light's going for the 3-fact starport, so he's going to have Wraiths here. He's going to have way less Vultures. But if he can sneak out 2 or 3 Wraiths before a single Goliath comes out, this could rack up a lot of damage, but I actually think that's the armory at the top right side of Sharp's base.
So it takes a little bit of time for those, or for that extra factory to finally start to make the difference, especially on your opponent's side of the map when you're rallying forward. But as long as Sharp sits here and builds up this Vulture count, he should have more. In fact, right now, Light seems to be in the advantage in how many Vultures he has, but there's going to be an opportunity here for Sharp when he has that numbers advantage to try and bust the natural. What's going to end up dealing more damage? Is it going to be this Wraith, or is it going to be the Vulture attack that comes into Light's natural? Light will have to have a really nice setup, a really nice setup. What's it called? An arc here in the natural. He does have a tank as well. That's going to make a big difference.
And he's already got mines out on the map, so he knows where the Vultures are. He also knows that the armory was built, and now he's not going to continue to build Wraiths, I don't think, and he's just going to take down this barracks. If I was Light here, I think you've gotten your strategy kind of denied here. Can't really attack because it's at minimum 3-fact versus 3-fact. So I think the best course of action is maybe start trying to secure the center. Take your command center at your 3rd base, because this is definitely going to go long. But instead, he puts down a 4th factory when the guy already has a 4th factory. I mean, I can't imagine him going into 5th factory. I think this is just for him to not get busted. He's going for a double add-on, instant double add-on for Sharp here. So both players like almost mimicking each other, other than an additional starport for Light.
This is going to be interesting. I'm not sure what this first clash is going to look like, but mines are getting set up all over the place. We could have a situation where both players kind of tentatively move forward and start to set up a split map situation.
Definitely don't want to lose this Wraith. It's very expensive, equal to a tank. And then also, since I was talking about the third base being very important on this map in particular, having that Wraith can get you vision onto the gas. So it's definitely important that he keeps this alive as long as possible. That SCV got taken down, so it looks like Light realizes that, hey, this guy's not going for like a 5 or 6 back bust or something. It does look like we're going to be playing for late game.
Oh, no. Oh, he lost it. Well, that is unfortunate. Light is going to feel that loss a little bit later when he needs to secure vision over his opponent's army. That's really the purpose of the Wraith in this matchup generally. Whether, unless you're, overwhelming your opponent or sniping down dropships, you're mostly just going to be securing vision. And he's moving towards the third base now. What do you think about this move from Light? Going to take over the third base, cornering himself a little bit, but let's see how this goes.
I think Sharp's late to the party. This is the perfect move. As long as he has siege mode, this is the perfect move. Oh, does he? No. He's just going to back off, but Light has already gotten far enough across the map that if he sieged right here, right there, he'll be in range of the gas there, and that means that this base is basically a mineral only. He would have to get vision of the gas somehow. However, when you commit this hard to the right side, all of a sudden it makes you vulnerable in the center. So if Sharp loops around, goes for some massive, counterattack straight through the heart, those are what, 2 or 3 tanks that are just not going to be in the battle? And that's why you see Light repositioning towards the center now.
He's got to challenge this push out into the middle. Sharp's trying to take 12 o'clock, and he sent something up to the top left as well, looking to clear those mines. And he's just not going to be able to take this space, so it might come to pass what we were talking about earlier, the gas being denied and this area being very open to drop play heading into the main base. That's going to be a problem a little bit later on if Light decides to go that route.
Well, Saiyan, unfortunately, this is going to go split map because both players have really high supply. Both players have mirrored builds. They've done no damage to each other. I can't imagine somebody thinking, you know what? I've got better macro than you, and I'm just going to go for it straight through the center. So I do think we're going to be setting up for either like a mass drop play, somebody try and catch the other player with an overwhelming amount of race and then slowly whittle down the tank count. I'm just not seeing any way for somebody to bust unless there's a massive blunder here. You can see Sharp is, moving his units around, but nothing here signals to me that he's going to try and bust right through the middle. More factories going down for Light. What's that put him at, like 6 or 7? But both players, I think, are maybe, I was about to say maybe Sharp's +1 weapon. Maybe he goes for a +2 power spike. I know he's got his starport done. I'm not sure if he has his science facility done, though.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, these two Wraiths come out, and I'm not sure exactly what he picked off there over the natural, but he got a kill on maybe a Wraith that was hanging around that area. Light, meanwhile, is taking domination over that area in the center right. He's making sure that he has that position ready for when Sharp decides to try and take that base. He's mirroring the movements of Sharp as well. Sharp kind of getting close to this tank line, but hasn't decided to take an engagement with it just yet. I think that's probably the right call. As some units start to bleed in, he's moving around for a better angle, but Light is here to meet him. Just the position that I'm looking at right now, though, it kind of feels like Sharp has an advantage somewhat, in that he's able to kind of surround Light and keep him off of the bases in the bottom left.
It is a really good position for Sharp, even though he's had his third base denied. Doesn't matter because he's taken top middle, and now he's cut off the left side of the map. So potentially Light, yes, he denied a base, but where does he expand after bottom middle? It's going to be hard to get bottom left, especially since Sharp has the Wraith advantage. Like, if there's a Wraith versus Wraith battle right now, Sharp's going to win. There's also, I would say, I think, a slight tank advantage. There's clearly a Vulture advantage because Light lost so many Vultures. Wow, Valkyries are coming out, so he definitely wants to win the air battle, but, Valkyries, they're good versus air, but they can also get picked off very quickly by Cloaked Wraith.
It is very hard to switch into dropships if you don't have that air superiority. If your opponent has a bunch of Wraiths flying around, one misstep and suddenly you end up losing all of your drops and a good proportion of your army and possibly the game. So he's going to try and seize back that air control before moving in towards drops. But if this situation persists, Sharp is going to win. It has to be a move from Light that breaks him out of this position, or, you know, wins the game through a big drop into the main.
I think if Sharp's going to go... he's picking off tanks, so he's going to secure his third base. So this is a huge win for him. I think what... Okay, we're actually going to have an attack in the center. There's no way this is working. There's way too many tanks. What I was going to say is, I think drops or D-Matrix for Sharp is the path to victory here. Once Light overcommits to an attack, just instant counter drop, or just have like 2 vessels sitting here waiting for Light to bust out, and then D-Matrix, and you know you're going to trade fantastically. Light did get some ground here, and he does actually have, I think, an opportunity to like get an SCV down the bottom left. But I still really do like Sharp's position. He is going to land his 5th command center. That's looking good. Ooh, that's a lot of stuff over here. Did Sharp move out of position?
Well, it looks like the air battle is going to be easily won by Light. Meanwhile, more tanks are being moved forward for Sharp, trying to hold on to this spot. He's pushing back quite a few of these tanks. Looks like he's going to win this fight overall, pushing back the tanks just slightly, but they're still not out of range of the gas. So landing this base and mining off of it effectively is not going to be an option just yet.
Look at the supply advantage, 40 supply advantage, but it's Terran versus Terran.
How did that happen?
We can see that. Yeah, we can. I don't know, really. I think it's because Light lost all those vultures at bottom left, and there we go, the massive +2 power spike advantage for Sharp. If he had 2 D-Matrix here, after getting that overwhelming vulture victory at bottom middle, I think for sure he could bust through the middle. But with no D-Matrix, it's gonna be tough, even though he has the +2 weapon. Like, tanks in a concave are just insanely strong. But Sharp, with the 5 bases, he's looking like he's in a fantastic position right now.
Yeah, why waste your advantage as well by trying to push in for a win? If you're in a spot like this where your opponent has to come to you, it's a little bit easier to simplify the game. Just keep on cranking out your macro, keep scanning to figure out what his next move is, and hold this containment strong, and that should be a straight-up win for Sharp.
It's so many tanks. And with the +2 weapon advantage, it's huge. However, that is a ton of tanks. And Light, he took advantage of his moment of opportunity to secure this left side. And that should mean that he could escort an SCV over there to start building a base. However, there's 4 drop ships here. If he can just counter drop on the high ground, what does Light do? I don't see him having a drop ship. Yes, he has, 1 Wraith and 1 Valkyrie? But he's never going to secure this high ground if these tanks and Goliaths land here.
Yeah, I'm glad there's some Goliaths in this drop for Sharp. He's going to get these tanks up on the high ground and secure that position, get rid of some of those mines. Light is running out of options. He is able to deny the gas over there at the 3rd base for Sharp still, but there's more gases coming up in the top left, and Sharp can grind this one out. Just forcing Light back and keeping him off this bottom left.
Well, I will say Sharp, I think, has made a little bit of a mistake here. If you look at the minimap, he sent his dropships back when he only unloaded 2 tanks. I thought he's going to keep the dropships around and kind of bait Light to come do a drop like this, and then he would, just match the drop. But he just sent the dropships back, so these 2 tanks denied the base for, like 30 seconds? Now Light is the one with the high ground here, and he will be able to now start taking these bases.
That was not as strong of a drop as I was expecting, but maybe if he sent more forces down there, if he overcommitted to that high ground, perhaps Light would have gone for a big bust through the middle. But I think that's what Sharp would have wanted anyway, right? He's got the supply advantage, he's got the +2, he's ready for Light to try and push out here. And I mean, I don't think Light really has to. He doesn't have to try and push this anymore because his bottom left is going to be secured.
Oh no, there's a drops right there. I thought there were drops on the left, but yeah, Light can just try and split the map again. I will say though that Sharp having the additional 10 SCVs is a big deal. Like 10 supply of army in Terran versus Terran is not really the biggest of deals, but 10 SCVs where you're going to be able to build up a massive tank, that is a big deal. If there's ever like a wipe of the army and somebody has like 10 starports, for example, you can build a lot of BCs. just all at once. And meanwhile, Light just sitting on 65 workers, he really shouldn't have a humongous bank. Now, I do like this by Sharp. Even though he's only put a couple units here, he's denying this base, just like what Light was trying to do at top right.
I'm really glad we're not seeing Sharp kind of mentally break after that first game. He really does seem calm and composed here in game number 2. After that very quick tap out game number 1, he's pulled things together and looks like he's going to try and break this little containment possibly. Wants to get that gas online. That third base gas has been denied for quite some time.
Oh no, it looks like it's gonna be drop versus counter drop. I can see that the drop ships are like colliding here. Oh, that's a Valkyrie here. 2 Valkyries actually. Valkyrie shred drop ships if he just fires. But it looks like he has them in the same control group. What is Sharp doing? Yeah, you gotta unload, man. But while he unloads, this other drop is gonna go towards top left.
Oh, if he takes the high ground over top left, that is going to be such a difficult position to break out of, especially with the 2 Valkyries here. How are you going to drop on top of that when there's Goliaths and Valkyries in the mix? Yeah, this spot is so good for Light. I think a counter drop is in order. Sharp is just going to lose so much here if he tries to, drop on top of this. He's not. He's going to try and drop on top of this. I don't like this at all, Nyoken. Let's see how it goes. This is a pretty reasonable surround on a lot of these tanks. And it looks like he actually will clean it up. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, actually, that was really good. I was kind of I was kind of thinking the same thing. In Terran versus Terran, once you're completely caught out of position, it's really hard to recover, which is why you see a lot of counterattacks. Counterattack, counter drops. But that was a great drop from Sharp. Like, yes, he lost a lot, but he saved his bases, which is critical. Also, I don't think he lost any drop ships, so he just needs to repair those bad boys up, and then he can be out in the field again.
The dropship number in trades like that, usually a few dropships end up going down, and then one person has a massive advantage in drops from then on. But it feels like both players have a similar number of dropships still, and as long as, yeah, here we go, repairing those up, he's going to be able to counter drop wherever Light decides to push into. Pushing it down towards this bottom left. Sharp is denying this base, but he's trading out a lot of tanks for the privilege.
This was really good movement from both sides. Sharp tried to get a little bit of a positional advantage so he could set up for a drop in the main, moving those tanks forward, but it was good counterplay from Light to make sure that that doesn't happen. He's put the right amount of tanks there to defend, but he still has this base denied, and now Sharp has enough territory here that he can start building a lot of turrets. So this is going to be like a very hard base to break, which is why you see dropships moving towards the right side. I don't see a lot of turrets on the right side.
I think there were quite a few. Yeah, here we go. There's all the turrets. Yeah, that's not a very good location to send your dropships through. If you want to go for the main, you're going to pay a hefty price. And that's by design here for Sharp.
Well,
he's going to really, yeah.
I was gonna say he still has, I think, a Valkyrie to like tank some turret shots, right? I see the green units moving. Is he just gonna go for it? He must have something leading the way. And Sharp had just moved all of his dropships to mid left. Yeah, the Valkyrie soaks up the shots and the drops get into the main. There's only 3 tanks here, but Sharp's drop is on the way. However, that is a ton of tanks.
That is wild to me. Just flew straight over about 8 turrets, but gonna come in and try to drop anyway on top of this. Great targeting overall for Light. He shuts down the dropships so quickly. Almost like half of those units didn't make it out of the drops. And it was just a great shift click from Light that cut down so many of those dropships. Look at how many of his drops are still alive too. While all of Sharp's units, as they pop out, are dying, SCVs are coming to try and draw some fire. Friendly fire into these tanks, and he's doing a reasonable job of that. Only 3 tanks left over. But the supply difference is insane. The switch up in the supply is just massive, going down to 150, where Light is maxing out so quickly. He's going to break through this position as well. Looks like Sharp wanted to take this base for himself on Light's side of the map, but that's not going to stand. In fact, Light going to take over that immediately, destroying that CC and taking it for himself.
Yeah, with a massive swing in Light's favor. Remember, I was talking about Sharp having that big SCV advantage, which would be a big bank, and the entire bank got vaporized in an instant. I see that there's the BC add-on at the natural, so I thought, wow, maybe he's got like a couple BCs that could help clear out the drop. Nope, I didn't see any. And actually, Light, yeah, I was thinking, you know, he could just immediately set up for a tank contain over here, but there's no tanks, it's just vultures. He at least shuts down the base for now. But there's the BC add-on for Light, so it looks like he's going BCs too.
Light seems to have a much better position to go into BCs as well. Sharp is struggling, scrambling to get into a position just to hold half the map. Moments ago, he was in a situation where he was holding definitely more than half the map, maybe even pushing in towards bottom left. Now he's struggling just to get this line set up so that Light doesn't come in here and just start killing bases in the top left.
Left or bottom left, I guess. He should be a command center for Light pretty soon. SCVs are very low at top left. Like, yes, he has those bases, but they're not mining very efficiently. So Sharp needs to fix that. We can see actually Light's the one that has the bank now, and he's trying to bust this third base, but I guess he'll trade decently here, but this is going to be a bleed off of tanks, and now Sharp's going to be able to secure that gas that he's been looking to have for, you know, what, the past 10 minutes or so? Oh no, a massive counter drop.
Boy, managed to keep so many dropships alive, even though he flew over an insane number of turrets and left those units in the main base as well. Now pushing up onto this center right. That's crazy. Light is just dominating now, shoving forward. Yeah, I think BCs are the last thing in Sharp's mind right now. He's struggling to keep himself alive.
Yeah, if you catch them with like a BC switch and you've got like 4 or something, you know, they're almost just immortal. They can push for, you know, forever versus a low Goliath count, which is what Sharp has right now. But this is why I'm not a believer in people saying Terran versus Terran is boring. Like, we just had the game explode and we've got action all over the place. This third base under threat, we had a bust at bottom left, you know, we had a drop at top left. The game's going wild now, and we haven't gotten even to BCs yet. Once the BCs come out, like I said, if somebody's caught with a low Goliath count, that's just going to completely blow the game open. Like, we could see bases start falling left and right.
I'm not sure if Sharp's ever going to make it to BCs. Light is putting on some serious pressure, inching his way forward on this right-hand side, and again, probably going to be able to open up another drop opportunity into the main base. Sharp has hardly any dropships. There's a big advantage in that mobility for Light, so he might want to try and take advantage of that rather than sit back and just wait for BCs. Utilize these dropships now, try and end the game before it gets into that late stage.
I think actually a winning move for Light here is those, I assume he's building BCs at bottom left. Take those BCs, just move them to top left. Don't even look at them. And while they're being dealt with on the left side, you know, he just cleared out all these tanks and turrets at the right side and go for a doom drop in the main. But we're not going to get to that point because Sharp's just going to pounce on this army instantly. He wants this base back. And look how much he had to commit to get rid of 4 tanks.
That was quite a hefty commitment. And he will overwhelm that force, though. That's a lot of dropships. You probably need to get rid of these dropships, actually, before switching into BCs, don't you think? This is so much supply that's just up in the air for Light. Can't really do too much with, you know, 188 supply already. And so many dropships here. That's got to be like, what, 20 supply total? 10 dropships?
That's quite a lot of supply. And look at this. There's some units in the middle of the map that are wide open. So an immediate attack by Sharp. Just really good scans, really good movement from both sides, and immediate reaction from Light to get tanks at the bottom side to make sure he can't push any further. And despite Sharp getting some good kills there, he's still down 20 supply. And look at that gas bank, 4K bank. However, Light had to send a lot of his stuff from his third base over here. And now Sharp, he scans, sees, hey, you've got nothing here. This base is mine.
Where are those dropships? I think they're over on center left. They're about to push in and drop. Trading out a bunch of bases, actually way more valuable bases for Sharp in the top left than this base over here is. It's just getting over to this position might allow him to push in towards the main or drop in towards the main. Oh man, this is going to be so painful for Sharp. Looks like he was building battle cruisers potentially at these starports, but that's going to be shut down for sure. So many Goliaths here, you might as well cancel because those battle cruisers would die instantly.
Yeah, I love the attack from Sharp, but now that I see the attack from Light, I'm not such a lover of that attack anymore. 3 bases for 1. He kept the dropships alive so he can unload onto the bottom left at the top left side, and he should be able to kill that base too. And Sharp, he's feeling the pressure now. He unsieges everything and just sends everything bottom left. But remember, the starports are down there. BC's are going to come out. I see 3 Goliaths. 3 Goliaths are not beating 3 BCs. I'm sorry.
The supply advantage is so big. Light's just cleaned up everything top left. He's killed so many SCVs, and now he's lifted everything back up into these dropships. He's going to clear center left and then bring some forces down to try and defend bottom left. BCs, like you said, are going to pop out here soon as well. Yeah, there's the BCs. 2 BCs. I think when he reveals those, Sharp may just tap out.
He might, but you know, it's no longer 4 Goliaths anymore. But this is like, Light can lose this base. All he has to do is hold his high ground here. Did he really unload only 2 tanks? Is there only 2 tanks here?
He unloaded a bunch of tanks to try and kill center top left. Actually, Sharp, the last base that was still mining there has been dealt with, but is not brought back enough units to maybe deal with this push. Sharp is making some progress, but as the battle cruisers come forward, now that there's 4, I don't know if you're going to be able to defeat this. Now, oh, dropping some Goliaths on top as well. Drawing some friendly fire. He's going to get rid of the last couple of Goliaths of Sharp, and maybe he can push this back. No. Just going to go back to high ground as he pushes it off his own high ground. He's waiting for a few more battle cruisers before he can take this fight.
I think there's tanks right there, so this base is not going to be easy to bust either. Sharp is going to have to send a ton here. Oh, he's got a single BC. I mean, that's funny because there's still, what, 4 BCs for Light? But there's just not that many tanks. I think, actually, if Sharp was to go for it, maybe it's going to be hard to get past the 4 BCs. Look at this. He tried to act like he was going to attack bottom middle, so Light instantly unloads there, defends that. And Sharp, you know, he's on 1 base mining right now. He's lost all of his mining bases except for that top right base.
Yeah, he's crippled, basically, in this game. 143 supply. Trying to put together a good army and make it useful. I guess he's going to go towards this fresh base of Light, which actually isn't mining that heavily. Only having a few SCVs on those mineral patches, so the mining difference is not as big as you might think. And also the overall army difference is not as big either, because so many units are kind of spread around for Light, whereas the entirety of Sharp's army is together and pushing 1 specific point.
Oh my gosh. As I was talking about, get all the units at bottom left and then just instant counter drop, and that's what he's done. He knows Sharp has to kill a base, so he immediately counter drops the only base that Sharp is mining, and that puts Sharp completely all in. He's not mining, like, not mining at all. This is it. This is all he can work with.
Yeah, this is a killing blow if I've ever seen one. Sharp is out of money. He's out of mining. He's 60 supply down, and Light has just outdone him in this set so far. It was looking a bit dicey. It seemed like Sharp might have an opportunity to win this game. He was holding a good position, but Light getting into the top left with the drop ships, that was probably the straw that broke the camel's back in this game.
The drops were definitely game changers. The top right drop with the 15 tanks that I actually thought Sharp had no chance of clearing out. That did catastrophic damage. We saw Sharp go from max to 130. And then obviously the drop at top left completely blew the game wide open. And that means that Light is seconds away from going up 2-0. I do like how Sharp played this game. He just got slightly outplayed here. That's why Light is considered the best Terran and has been considered the best Terran for years upon years.
It's really impressive to me how Light has been able to get these drops into the bases where Sharp was so well defended. He had so many turrets top left, he had so many turrets top right as well, but each time Light just gets in there and starts killing off so much. Now going to go ahead and start to leverage his units up into the main base. One battlecruiser there is maybe going to win this fight against a couple of Goliaths. No, that will end up losing. 2 Goliaths on the low ground, assisting there as well. Sharp's infrastructure is all but gone now. These factories are being taken down, and GG is finally called. Sharp taps out. Light 2-0 so far in this best of 5.
And that was really well played from both sides. Really big macro fest. That's what I like to see in Terran versus Terran. I really didn't want to see a game like we saw in the first game where Light just gets a Vulture advantage, sits there and wins. I mean, he's really good at that, but I was really hoping we'd at least get one epic game there, and we did get one on Radeon. I think Sharp does have a chance, you know, to come back, especially when the map is Pantheon here, because his late game and his mid game, you know, it's very, very impressive. He just got slightly outmaneuvered, but he's going to need to come up with something special here, because I think Pantheon was Light's map pick. I think Cruiser is
bathroom
on
break,
right now. Yeah, he's on the bathroom break. So we'll just use this time to shout out our Patreon supporters. Thank you guys for supporting StarCastTV for so long. If you like the content brought to you by StarCastTV, definitely consider becoming a Patreon supporter. Support goes a long way to create tournaments like this. And you can also support us through YouTube. Just slam that like button, man. Slam that subscribe button so you can get all the updates from YouTube when we bring out a new video. And yeah, we've got other tournaments coming up pretty soon. We've got SSL starting. I'm sure you're excited for that.
Absolutely. Super excited for this season of SSL. There's so many great contenders. Unfortunately, we're not going to get Flash in this season. He's confirmed that he's not going to be playing. He's taking some time off for his wrist injury. I believe Larva's not going to be contending either, but I'm so excited for some of these new and upcoming players. Players like Speed have been growing so much over this past year, this past half year since the last SSL, and it's always an exciting time to get to see these guys at their best.
Yeah, Speed last season was very impressive. I was watching him play. I'm like, dude, the amount of stuff that you're able to do is ridiculous. And like, I think he's the only one that like actually has the ability to do that because his APM is so high. It's like 400 APM. I'm looking at it. I'm like, you must have at least 300 APM to be doing this. It's actually crazy. I'm looking forward to see him play in particular. Of course, I'm a big fan of Snow. I'm looking to see if he'll be able to finally make an ASL run. You know, he had his run versus Sulky, 2 seasons ago? But last season he got picked apart by Terran players, which was very unusual because he's usually the Terran killer.
Yeah, that was surprising. I've been a big fan of Snow for a while as well. I've got a signed Cheerful from him at one of the previous ASLs that I went to. And so I'm really hoping that he'll get a win sometime. We've got a few players who really deserve an SSL victory. Hero comes to mind immediately as well. I'm sure he's going to be gunning for that spot as well. So there's just so many great up-and-coming players, so many strong players that haven't achieved SSL yet. And I mean, they're definitely going to be hungry for that. So great competition all around. It's going to be a great time. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, guys. SSL here. It'll be coming out on the StarCastTV channel first.
And Cruiser is back, so let's get into Game 3. Light is on match point here. If he wins, he'll be moving on versus Mini. Sharp needs to start staging his comeback. Okay, so in the bottom left, we do have Sharp. And in the bottom right, we do have Light. And I am in agreement with your call on Hero. If I was Hero, I don't know how many 4th and 3rd place finishes I could deal with without getting a championship. It'd be like, man, this is like the 6th, 7th time. I can't take it anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're going to start getting nicknames at that point. Like, people are going to start calling you the King of Silver and all that kind of stuff. You're going to get, like, who was it, King of Silver in the past?
Yellow?
Stork.
Stork?
Was it Stork? I think he was the King of Silver for quite a long time until he ended up getting an MSL victory, but I could be wrong on that. Not the best memory here, guys. Sorry.
Might have been. I can't remember either. Of course, the legendary Yellow was the King of Silver for a long time. I know in StarCraft 2, Sue was the King of Silver, but you might be right that it might have been Stork. But we've got horizontal spawns here on Pantheon. Pantheon, in my opinion, is a deceivingly big map. I don't really like the main terrain layout. When I'm building factories, I'm like, man, I know my base is big, but I feel cramped. I feel like it's hard to get units out of my base sometime. We may see that come into play at the later stages if somebody like gets into a good position where tanks could be ranging factories, for example. Ironically, we've got Light with the Proxy factory this time, or not Proxy factory, the Proxy barracks, and Sharp's just gonna build barracks in his main, and we do have 12 gas from both sides.
12 gas from both sides. So going back to the original setup from game number 1, is that because this is Pantheon, or is this just a strong build no matter what the map is?
But you don't really get punished for building your racks where he's building it right now. Like, I guess 8 racks can punish you, but 8 racks is just really not very good. It just isn't. People are too good with their Marine Micro. SCVs are too strong. So there isn't really like a downside to building your racks like this. Yes, maybe your factory is like 1 second slower or 2 seconds slower than the opposing player, but that's not the biggest of deals. So like, if this guy goes gasless, you're just going to be able to punish him. But once again, there's no gasless here this time, so it really shouldn't do much damage.
So being that we're on Pantheon with the vertical, or not the vertical, horizontal spawns here, how do you feel about pushing along this kind of pathway that goes up onto that high ground? Is that really an important area to hold in TVT? Because I know it's very important for TVP, and Terrans are generally liable to push along that axis, but TVT here, is that just going to be a no-go zone where both players are going to start to expand up to the north, or are we going to see one player try to push along that axis?
I think if you can get the high ground, it's really good, but we're gonna have wait, if you lift his racks into the center, why would you do that? Now, oh, SCV's got some moves. Takes down that Marine, but I thought that he was gonna be able to, just sit on top of this racks. Now Sharp's kind of in panic. Oh no, he took free shots.
Every single hit here is so important. Getting on the high ground, though, that was a missed shot. Gonna retreat into the main base. A second Marine comes out, so he definitely beats this, but the chaos is probably going to cause some troubles here for Sharp. He's going to miss something somewhere, I imagine, while all this is going on. And back at home, Light's got his CC started, and he's going to get an SCV for free here as well.
He gets an SCV. He also forced Sharp to build, 3 Marines? And Light only built 2. So that's fantastic. Command center slightly delayed. This was a really good move from Light here. He really made Sharp panic. Pulled SCVs also. It's not the biggest of leads, but every lead matters when you're at the pro level. So nicely done from Light. Now, I do want to point out, because I watch so many games of Light, is there's a reason he wins Vulture battles, and that's because he knows when to cut. Last game, there was a point where he was actually up in Vultures, despite it being gasless versus Command Center. It was when Sharp had 40 SCVs or something like that, and Light had cut down to 36. Like, he cuts really hard, but because he cuts really hard, his mid and late game can kind of suffer, which is why you saw Sharp start running away in the mid and late game. So Light needs to figure out, okay, is this guy cutting like he usually does, or is he going to try and play, more eco-based? If Sharp under respects the amount of vultures, like right here, 4 versus 3, this could be the deciding attack, really.
That was a great pull of SCVs to get a repair going on that vulture right away. He ends up losing a vulture for a vulture. Also drops 1 Marine, but he fends off this attack without too much damage, and despite being behind on vultures, manages to fend everything off. I mean, if he didn't pull those 2 SCVs there, he would have been in a lot of trouble, I think.
I know it's very slight here, but I really do not like Sharp's position anymore. The factory timing was much faster for Light. He's up workers. Yes, it's very tiny, but he's up workers with, a slightly faster factory, and he's just the king of vultures in TVT. Like, he's just so good at cutting and maximizing damage. His optimizations are really good, and now with the tank out to lead the charge, he's up 2 vultures, plus he has a tank. How do you stop this?
Gonna be tough. Sharp is falling back all the way to his natural. He doesn't have mines. He doesn't have speed. He's waiting for these factories to start to kick in. He will have a defender's advantage, but will he have the numbers to actually fight this? He gets some good damage onto this tank right off the bat. He's gonna be focusing tank on tank most likely. The vultures are shoving this up onto high ground. Don't want to take that fight up onto the high ground though, and Light, similar to that game on Deja Vu, is just going to sit back on the high ground for now, hold his position.
Yeah, and if you can secure high ground here, this is the massive advantage. If you both are just going to like sit on your side of the map, then it's not, you know, a very important position because nobody's going to get that base. But the fact that he's gotten onto the high ground here and he could prevent tanks from getting in range of hitting the minerals, this is a huge advantage. I'm curious if he has siege mode coming, or if he has any upgrades coming. And you can see that Sharp, well, he's sending tanks towards the center of the map. I don't know what this is about. These are very isolated. I think he's desperate. He's going to try and go for a counter, but he gets spotted immediately.
Yeah, he's looping around to maybe get a better angle on this high ground. If he can hit from multiple angles, maybe this can be okay, even with the high ground mischance. As long as he has better surface area, it might be fine for him. Get rid of that SCV at least, but siege mode is done. 1 tank for Light on the high ground is a little bit too much to push into for the time being.
I was wondering if Sharp would have siege mode, and it looks like he doesn't. There's 1 tank here. If he can focus down the tank, wow. The vultures are doing so much damage. There's just so many vultures. He's gonna win this fight with pretty much just pure vulture here. Like, I realize, yes, the tank is doing some damage, but there's just so many vultures. The tank's still alive. It just now got hit for the first time.
Oh my goodness. Sharp was not very good with the initial engagement either. A lot of the vultures were behind that first tank, and they weren't really firing during the initial engage. And the vulture battles are so swingy. If you're not firing with all of your vultures and your opponent is, you can lose even if you have more than them. And I don't think he had more. I think he in fact had less. So Light dominates that fight. He swings back across the map and just starts to clean up. GG is called. Sharp taps out once again. Light gonna take this series home very convincingly.
Yeah, that was just so classic Light right there. I mean, it's exactly what I was talking about. If you don't respect the amount of units he has, and you think you're just gonna bully him with some type of timing in a vulture battle, I'm sorry. You're not. He knows how to get the most amount of units possible, and that was just such an easy win. It made it look so easy. It's rare to see in a best of 3 you have 2 Terran versus Terran matches be less than 10 minutes. So he's going to make his way into the round of 4, and we have our final 4 players set now. Barracks versus Royal in the top side. That's going to be an interesting one because I like Royal's style. He's got a lot of multitask capability. I know he likes to play drops. But then you have somebody like Barracks who is like, you know, a mentee of Light who just like floods units. So there's kind of contrasting styles there. And then of course we have Mini versus Light. Even though I think Mini has leveled up quite a lot in the past couple of years, I think I remember seeing like a stat where Light was like a 70% win rate versus Mini. This was a couple years ago. So I think Mini's going to have a rough time versus Light. But we're going to be hoping that Mini can go into the finals because we want to see a TVP there.
Absolutely. Mini is a bit of an emotional player. It really depends on how his first couple of games go versus Light in that series. It is going to be a best of 7, so plenty of room for back and forth and for comebacks to occur. Same thing goes for Barracks and Royal. I don't know about you, Nyoken, but Barracks is one of those guys who I'm really looking forward to seeing in this upcoming SSL. He's like almost on that speed level where I really want to see what he can do if he can just keep it together and not get overwhelmed by the gravity of the situation and the moment in SSL when he needs to shine.
He's been playing really, really well lately. He kind of reminds me of Sharp from a couple of seasons ago where Sharp was like almost always around a 16 player. Yes, I know Sharp, I think, won SSL or got second, you know, a very long time ago, but then he was just like round of 16 every time. It is kind of the same thing with Barracks, where he just shot past round of 16 last season, and then also has taken down formidable opponents here, you know, Snow and JYJ, which is crazy. So he's been on a heater. I hope he can deliver and not let nerves get to him like you were talking about. But that is it today, guys. Thank you so much for watching StarCast TV, and I look forward to seeing you in the round of 4.